Yeah, we're coming into the final stretch of the season. 14 games left, I believe now. Yeah, final stretch of the season. We are in February. This is where the business part of the season picks up. We'll get right into it. Match day 24 last week was a decent one. I don't remember too many shocks happening. All of them were kind of moderate results that I'd expect. So we'll get into it, obviously. We'll start with the first game, which was at the Etihad. Manchester City 2, Everton 0. Erling Haaland on the score sheet twice. Back to form, of course. Everton obviously tried to give a good account of themselves, and I thought they actually played quite well. The transitions are getting better at Everton, to be quite honest. They're moving their ball a lot quicker as well. Caused Manchester City a few problems, to be fair. But in the end, Manchester City's class showed, and it was evident as well. I mean, if everyone had a Haaland, everyone would be sort of where they are in the league at the moment. But that squad in general, Manchester City I'm talking about, they do tend to obviously do this at this part of the season. They will go on a mad run, as I said before. And this is just a starting of them winning the league again, in my opinion. But good result for Manchester City, not a great one for Everton, and Everton currently still remain in the bottom three of the Premier League. Manchester City flying high, second in the league at the moment, just behind Liverpool. Off to Molineux, Wolverhampton 0, Brentford 2. I'm going to stay a slight shock with this one. Wolverhampton have been really, really decent, actually, recently at home especially. Brentford away have caused a couple of problems here and there, but not to the point where you're worried about, what they bring to the table, because they'd always give you chances to obviously score goals as well against them. So a good result for Brentford. Ended up being 2-0. Ivan Toney on the score sheet again, which I think I called last week. I did say he would get on the score sheet with regards to this big, massive injury result for Wolves. Cunha's going to be out, so that's obviously good for me and my boys this weekend, even though we've got a couple of injuries ourselves, which I'll get into a little bit later on. But no, really, really decent result for Brentford. That takes them away from the relegation zone a little more. I think they're above it now by about 6 points. Wolverhampton are going to be safe this season. They're going to be fine, especially with Pedro Neto staying fit. Fulham 3, Bournemouth 1. Really, really good result for Fulham this one. They needed this. I think this is their first win in 3. Bournemouth were on a really decent run recently. Have had a little bit of a wobble, of course. Liverpool obviously going to the Vitality and beating them 4-0 a couple of weeks back. But this was a really, really good result for Fulham. Muniz, their new Brazilian striker, on the score sheet twice. And yeah, it was a really, really resounding result, which I wasn't expecting, because I did actually think this would be a bit of a draw. I was going with 1-1, but Fulham, no, really, really decent, giving a really good account of themselves, and Bournemouth never really seemed to get going on this. Off to my boys, Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, beating Brighton 2-1. So I've got to be honest, I thought we were terrible. I really did. I don't think we played well at all. I think there were hips and spurts in the second half where we were obviously a lot better. Managed to keep possession a lot better as well. Obviously managed to fashion a few more chances as well. But first half, I thought we were shocking. Didn't really deserve anything out of the game up until maybe the 60th minute, where we obviously started to play a bit better. Substitutes obviously worked. Obviously Son into Brennan Johnson, which was the 2 substitutions we did make in the second half. But overall, we need to do better, and I think we will. Everyone is obviously coming back from injuries. Maddison obviously getting back into full fitness. Bentancur not quite there yet. He's had a couple of games, or a few games now. It's been a few weeks now since Bentancur's actually been sort of the focal point or the hub. He kind of just seems to go missing in games at the moment, but that's down to fitness as well. He has come back from a long layoff, and I do believe that his best is yet to come. I thought Brighton were excellent. For all the stuff that I speak about Brighton, I've always said about Brighton that they are one of the teams in the league that like to adapt and do it very, very well. So they can actually look at a formation and look at a team, and they can look to obviously spout their own sort of dangers. And that's exactly what they did with us. Unfortunately, they weren't good enough to obviously do it on a day they weren't as clinical. And we ended up picking up the 3 points with virtually the last kick of the game. Sonny into Brennan Johnson. 2-1 win to Spurs, and that takes us into the top 4. Luton Town 1, Sheffield United 3. Another one of those games where I thought it was a little bit lopsided. I expected Luton to do a lot better than what they did, especially seeing as they have been really, really good at home. This is a big, big setback for them. Make no mistake about it. Obviously, Sheffield United fighting for their lives at the moment. Chris Wilder is one of those managers that is very gritty. He likes to stay in games. And this one was no exception. They pretty much bossed proceedings from start to finish. Luton really couldn't get going. That their transitions in midfield weren't working. Their wingers could not get on the ball. And they were starved up front as well. I know Carlton Morris got another goal from the penalty spot, but I don't recall Luton fashioning too many chances. Whilst on the other hand, Sheffield United were excellent all over the pitch. Countered very well when they needed to, were very patient in possession, kept the ball very, very well. So that might stand them in good stead to obviously get a few more results this season, but I don't see Sheffield United staying up this year. Luton have a little bit of a chance to do so because I do think they're the better side, but this is a big, big, big setback for Luton Town. That game was at Kenilworth Road, by the way. 3-1 Sheffield United win. Another 3-1 over the weekend was Liverpool versus Burnley. That was at Anfield. Burnley causing a little bit of a scare just before half-time when they got on the score sheet to make it 1 apiece. But Liverpool, obviously being Liverpool, came out in the second half and absolutely romped to victory. Don't recall Burnley having a chance in the second half, to be fair, from what I saw. And Liverpool seemed to be on the upward trajectory as well, obviously, since that loss to Arsenal the week before. It hasn't seemed to have stopped them, and Liverpool look well and truly involved in the title race and will be fighting Manchester City all the way. I think they're going to be 1 and 2 in the Premier League. Nottingham Forest 2, Newcastle 3. So the reverse fixture of this at St James's Park ended up being a Nottingham Forest win, and I think they won it 3-1. Newcastle pretty much did what Nottingham Forest did to them in that corresponding fixture. Newcastle have ended up being the victors here. Bruno Guimaraes on the score sheet twice. Very, very enjoyable game this one was, actually. Very, very end-to-end. Expected a little bit more by way of incident in the game. A lot more tackles. I expected a few more cards as well. But it was a very clean game. Really, really good to watch. Newcastle obviously having a little bit more firepower than Nottingham Forest. I do believe Nottingham Forest should have had a penalty though. When Awoniyi obviously went over the goalkeeper's arm, VAR didn't deem it to be anything more than just Awoniyi kind of going down under his own momentum. But no, really enjoyable game. I don't see Nottingham Forest putting up many trees. I do see them staying up, obviously, but I don't see them doing much else this season. They're just kind of trying to survive at the moment. Newcastle, I do see being in the top 8. Them a little bit like Aston Villa. I see them being around sort of 7th or 8th. I see Villa falling down out of the top 4. They're already out of it now. And I don't see that getting any better for them. Newcastle, with all their injuries, have got their own problems as well. But they should be comfortably in the top 10. Nottingham Forest will comfortably be in the Premier League next season as well. Not a shock, this one, with regards to the result. Maybe with regards to the scoreline from the London Stadium. That was West Ham 0, Arsenal 6. Oh my God. Anytime there's a rival that gets absolutely smashed, it's always funny to see. In this case, it's West Ham United. They look like they're bereft of ideas. They look like they're out of ideas. And they don't really know how to stop it. David Moyes looks a little bit lost. You can only defend so well for so long, but when the ball keeps on being recycled and obviously launched into your box or being played through your midfield, there's going to come a time when your defence is just not going to hold out. And if we're talking about waters breaking, then goodness me, that this was the game for it. Arsenal absolutely put them in a spliff, cooked them unmercilessly as well. Even Declan Rice got on the score sheet with a 25-30 yarder, which was actually a great goal of the game for me. Didn't celebrate, thought he should have. Great goal. Yeah, West Ham in disarray. Still currently somehow, 6th, 7th in the league at the moment, West Ham. Arsenal obviously 3rd in the league at the moment, still chasing Manchester City and Liverpool. Really decent game from Arsenal. I don't really say much about them because I don't really want to, but I actually sat down and actually fully analysed the game. West Ham were atrocious. From start to finish. I think they had one shot all game, and that came in like the 88th minute, I think it was. But Arsenal absolutely hammered them. I was going to say pammed. They hammered them from start to finish. First minute in to like the 94th, 95th minute, or however long it was. Absolutely brutalised them. And West Ham are going to need a little bit more if they are to get results from their next few fixtures, which obviously we'll get into game week 25. Off to Villa Park. This was another Super Sunday game. Aston Villa 1, Manchester United 2. A little bit of a shock with regards to United, actually. They don't really travel that well. And Aston Villa obviously have been in a role at home as well, but this was a must win for Man United to obviously see if they can get themselves into the Champions League places, and so they have. Really, really good game as well. McTominay again on the score sheet, coming on as a super sub from the bench. Aston Villa are another one of those teams that just look tired, and I've been saying it for a few weeks now. Aston Villa will slide out of the top four. They are currently outside the top four, and I don't see them getting back into it. I know they've obviously got us coming up in a couple of weeks' time, and that's probably going to be a showdown for obviously supremacy in the top four, which I don't really see us losing, if I'm being honest. Yeah, Aston Villa have done very well this season. They really have, but they're in too many competitions. Europe has come back round, so their game, I believe, is next week. And yeah, the rest of the league games they've got is a pretty tough running they've got, actually, Aston Villa. I think they've still got to play Spurs. They've still got to play Spurs. I believe they've still got to go to Arsenal. They've got Manchester City to play the Etihad as well. I think they've still got to play Liverpool at Villa Park. They've got a few decent games, really, really do, and I don't see their running being easy for them, especially with the competitions that they are still in. So it could be a bit of a slower second half to the season for them. But really good for Manchester United. They're on the upward trajectory, currently 6 points behind us, who currently occupy the fourth spot. I think the top five get Champions League placings anyway, so Man United are really well placed for that at the moment. Final game of that weekend, Crystal Palace 1, Chelsea 3. That was Monday Night Football from Selhurst Park. Great goal from Jefferson Lerma to obviously get the game underway for Crystal Palace, but didn't really do much else after that. Palace, Chelsea got back into the game early in the second half through Conor Gallagher. He scored twice. Enzo Fernandez was on the score sheet again, starting to pick up some really nice positions in the midfield area. Enzo Fernandez is finding himself in really good pockets to get goals, and yeah, it seems to be working for them. That's one facet of their style that is working. There is still a lot to be desired with the Chelsea team. The attacking phase needs to be a little bit more crisp. It needs to be a bit more clinical, but they do have really, really good technicians in midfield that obviously can make things happen, which obviously they did do. Palace didn't really have an answer for it. I'm hearing Roy Hodgson has now been taken ill since that game, so hopefully he's okay. But I don't think Roy Hodgson is lasting until sort of next season. I think he might be off way before then. Crystal Palace needs new direction, and it needs to come soon. I don't know if they're going to be able to compete financially in the transfer market this summer either. Could be a really, really big summer for them if they don't get the players that they want, and I do see Crystal Palace in trouble next season as well. That's my roundup of Matchday 24. Matchday 25 predictions. It is a full list of Premier League football. We are starting tomorrow at the GTEC Stadium. That is Brentford versus Liverpool. 12:30 kickoff. That is a Liverpool formality win for me. I think they go there and they beat Brentford 3-1. Burnley versus Arsenal. That's from Turf Moor. Arsenal, I'm going to go with a 2-1 win there. Newcastle versus Bournemouth is from St James's Park. That is Eddie Howe's former club, Bournemouth, visiting his club now. That is a Newcastle United win for me. Slight one though. I'm going to go 2-1 on that one. Fulham versus Aston Villa from Craven Cottage. I see that being a draw. Wouldn't be surprised with a Fulham win, because Aston Villa, like I said, have been running out of steam these past few weeks. Nottingham Forest versus West Ham. That's another 3 o'clock kickoff. That is from the City Ground. West Ham's form is quite shocking at the moment, so I am going to give points to Nottingham Forest here, and I think they take this game 2-0. Tottenham versus Wolves. I said before, they've got a few injuries of their own, Tottenham. Udogie's going to be out now for the next week or so, and I think Pedro Porro is going to be out for the next couple of weeks, so I think we're going to see Ben Davies and Emerson Royale start in those two sort of left back, right back advanced positions. I still see a Spurs win. We owe Wolverhampton a beating as well, seeing as what they did to us earlier in the season. I will go no, I won't. I'll go 3-1 to us. Everyone fully fit now, pretty much. Yeah, I can't see us losing this game. I'll go 3-1 to us. Manchester City versus Chelsea. That is the late kickoff on Saturday. That is from the Etihad. It's a formality Manchester City win for me. I think they're going to beat Chelsea 3-0 here. On to Super Sunday. Sheffield United versus Brighton. That is from Bramall Lane. It's a tough one, this one. I'm going to narrowly go with the Sheffield United win here. I think they'll beat them 2-1. Luton Town versus Manchester United, complete Super Sunday. That's the 4:30 kickoff from Kenilworth Road. Man United have been really, really good form at the moment. Luton might have had a bit of a blip against Sheffield United last week, but Luton do know how to play against the bigger lot. So this one might have a draw written all over it. I am going to say 2-2. Possibly with a Man United winner. Slightly, it's not going to be a massacre. It's not going to be anything like that. And it's a really tight pitch. And Man United don't like to be bullied in games. Tough one, that one. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. Everton versus Crystal Palace. That's your Monday night football. That is live from Goodison Park. And it doesn't get any better for Crystal Palace for me. I'm going to go with Everton to get the 3 points there. That's my roundup of the week. Oh, actually, there is oh no, hang on. We've got Premier League football again as well. Tuesday and Wednesday. Yeah, okay. So, Manchester City versus Brentford is Tuesday the 20th February, 7:30. That is from the Etihad. I'm guessing this is the game in hand that Manchester City have got. Yes, it is. Formality, Manchester City win for me there. I'm going to go again 3-0 to Manchester City. Brentford, I don't think have a hope in hell to get anything out of them on that day. And then Liverpool versus Luton Town. That is from Anfield. That is Wednesday the 21st of February at 7:30. And that for me is a formality Liverpool win. I will go 3-1 Liverpool over Luton. The next game after that would be Saturday the 24th. So I'll probably do another video on the Friday potentially. And that will be Crystal Palace versus Burnley from Selhurst Park. That is officially my roundup over. Enjoy the weekend. Try to get as much rest as you possibly can. Keep your mind sane. Enjoy the football. And I'll speak to you in the next week.